So thought for the day falls on me. There's a Chinese proverb, the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right names. The beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right names. So, it's appropriate that we had Hector talking about, the death of a friend, and that kind of maybe there was a previous way of seeing that, which would want to seek retaliation. And, having two deaths in Thanksgiving week, two folks gunned down, killed for no reason at all. Maybe I want to congratulate, first of all, you for your own wisdom that brings you to this place. That maybe in the past you used to think courage looked like having a gun and then having a willingness to use it. And yet that's really cowardice, So you don't want to call cowardice courage. You don't want to call unkindness honesty. You want to be able to find the right names for things, and that's very important. About 20 years ago, there was a young man who I buried named Richard, who was killed in our streets. 30 days later, all his homies showed up at the church. I was pastor then, about 15 of them, and said, "Hey, this is the first month anniversary of Richard's death. Take us to the cemetery, yeah?" So I piled him in the van, and we went to the cemetery and to Resurrection, and they found the spot where he had been buried. Was still kind of a mound of lawn, and didn't have a marker yet because they hadn't bought it yet. And so I looked the other way, when the homies were kind of borrowing flowers from other, other plots and putting them there where Richard was buried. And a lot of them lit frajos and then put the cigarette down there, And we all stood there in silence, just staring at this little mound. And nobody said a word. And then finally this guy, Michael, just began to sob. And then he began to wail. And then he was just sobbing and crying so uncontrollably that we were just, it was starting to make people a little bit uncomfortable. So I walked him away and I said, "Michael, what's happening?" And he told me something he hadn't told anybody, a secret he had kept for 30 days. That 30 days before, when Richard and he were walking in the projects, Richard had a premonition, and he said, "I have a feeling I'm going to die today. I just have a feeling I'm going to get smoked tonight." Then he stops and he looks at Michael and he says, "But I know if anything happens to me today, you will take care of everything." Which of course means only one thing: get the guy who kills him. And he's been carrying this burden for 30 days, and finally it just, the dam broke and he just started sobbing. And I said to him, "Who organized the car washes that paid for this entire funeral?" And he said, "I did." And I said, "Michael, who was there every single day to comfort this mother and Richard's two sisters?" He said, "I was there." "Who was the one person who helped me calm down all these knuckleheads so they wouldn't do anything and retaliate?" He said, "I did that." I said, "You're the downest vato I know. Why?" And through his tears he said, "Because I took care of everything." Naming the things in a correct way is very important. You may have thought courage looked like having a gun and a willingness to use it. We can't call cowardice courage anymore. We can't call betrayal fidelity. We can't call unkindness honesty. The beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right names. And so I congratulate you for choosing to do that and to begin your own path all over again of wisdom.